All right, you guys, we are live back again. Search for Huru back to back tonight, this Friday night. I have the brother Awini Baba back again. So we're gonna continue or finish off on where we left off this past Monday. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, but basically the power went out in my neighborhood, and so we had to end early because I didn't have any power. Then shortly the power came back on, like maybe like an hour or two later. So we want to finish and complete the topic as far as Africans using culture as an economic weapon globally. So, Brother Awini, go ahead and take it from here.
Okay. Yeah. Hello, everybody. It's good to have you back on. As Dinas Tamir said, we couldn't finish the last time. So, because this is a really important and huge topic. I don't think we'll be able to go so deep to even finish today because there's so much within our culture as it stands today that we can use as an economic weapon. So I'd like to quickly touch on I think three other points. The other day we dealt with cosmetics, food, and hair. And the hair products and so on that come with it. Today, I want to touch on clothing, music, and housing. Perhaps with music, I'll tie it in with other art forms. You see, so I'd like to get into clothing. Uh, Now, this is an area that it appears those of us within the African community, we accept certain, downgrading or condescending views on African dressing and how we present ourselves and so on and so forth. It would benefit you to know that in Ghana, we have set aside a day for wearing African clothing, a day of the week.
Which day? Is that Friday?
Friday, yeah. So we call it Friday wear, and people are mandated to wear African clothing to work on that day, which is a good thing. But I would have preferred that we would have it the other way around and have, four weekdays for African clothing and one day for Western clothing.
Western clothing.
Yeah, I would have preferred the other way around. But this is what we have now to deal with. This is not to say that on other days people don't wear African clothing to work, because they do, and it's allowed to do this. Of course, it depends on the occasion and the establishment you find yourself. If you work in the bank, it's all about this corporate executive image. Then, of course, a lot of the suits flow in, and so it will be difficult to, break that protocol and wear African clothing on a day that is not set aside by the law. So I think that this Friday wear thing, it helps in a way, especially in the executive corporate world, where it's about suits and all these standards that can be relaxed a bit. So that's a good thing. But I'd still like to point out that if you look at countries like India, you see, I look at India and I see that their president, he's almost always in traditional Indian clothing.
Yes.
You see, and and everybody in the world respects this and doesn't make a fuss of it.
And I'm gonna give you another example, just about
Mhm.
leader of a Middle Eastern country like Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia, exactly. Exactly. So it appears that in the world, if we assert in our cultural clothing as the standard, it's going to have to be accepted. I don't know why we are not doing much in this regard, especially our politicians. I don't know what the issue is, but we need to present ourselves culturally from that background that we have our own things, and at least we don't have everything, but we have beautiful clothing that we shouldn't be intimidated or ashamed to wear on international stages. And I will commend Nkrumah. Nkrumah did this. I think that the African presidents have not done. Okay, I'll talk for Ghana because I don't know about the rest. They've not done really badly in this regard, because I've seen some kente, on the international scene by Ghana presidents, starting from Nkrumah, Kwame Nkrumah, coming down all the way. Uh, People otherwise this. I would say basically there are two main types of fabric or clothing in Ghana that we consider really traditional in our heritage. Is the kente and the smock.
Mm-hmm.
And then in between you have like what you're wearing right now, the fabric. Yeah, exactly. So we have that too. So
So
I would say,
Kafatan.
yeah, I would say that it's not done badly in that regard, but I'd like to see more, and I'd like to see Africans globally. I remember one African brother attacked you and said you should not appropriate African clothing. You remember that?
No. I think there was a video or article written on Black
Yeah,
Americans appropriating African clothing.
exactly. Yeah, you remember that one?
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
remember. And my argument was I agree because a lot of African Americans, we will appropriate the clothing, but we won't go to Africa. We won't eat the food. It's like, how can you have? Well, here we go. How can you have an African event? All right, wear
Hmm.
African clothing, but not have any African food there, or really truly immerse yourself into the actual culture. You know what I mean? At least have the name food, or you know
Yeah.
Senegalese
It's
or something. But they'll have like we'll just say African event, even though Africa's a continent, that, but you got the idea. But then
mhm,
they will have like Jamaican food there or Caribbean food there.
mhm, mhm,
Dishes coming from a specific country in Africa. So
yeah, but it's a step. At least if we're wearing the clothing, we can add on to that. So yeah, definitely we need to be doing more. And I think the event organizers need to be doing more. If you're organizing an event, you need to get in touch. I want to believe that there are, people who at least they're preparing African food in the US. So if we are organizing an event, then we have to get in touch with these people. You can't do everything on your own. So we have to try to liaise with other people doing different things within the African community. And so it wouldn't be difficult to really get in touch with these people, people doing food, people doing other things, to come together and make the event more African, you
mm,
know. So the clothing issue is is something that it has the potential to really give us so much wealth or power. But I don't know. You see, partly I'll talk from a Ghanaian perspective. Partly is because we have all these imports from, you know, from America and other places of the world, and uh, to now we have another influx from Asia, you know, clothing from Asia and all these. I'm not really saying that, you know, wearing other clothing is bad. It's because it's not. But if we're going to benefit from, you know, textiles and clothing, we're going to have to, or at least mass produce our own. And of course, since we have the cotton, there used to be a big cotton industry in Ghana. Now it has collapsed. You see, since we have the ability,
How did it collapse?
yeah, like I said, all this neoliberal economic policy. So there was a cotton company based up north where I come from, you know, but the issue was it was mainly for export. Some of it was also feeding some industries. I'd like to say that we do have some textile industries in Ghana, even though they're not, what I would say, they're more elitist kinds of industries, like the Akosombo textiles. This is where we do kente. This is, you know, we have two types of kente, or what we call GTP. We have the woven kente, and then the printed, the wax prints. You see, so the prints are usually done in this company, and they do other fabrics as well in that company.
Let me ask you: is it black owned? The wax print Kente company?
Yeah, 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 definitely. So yeah, so but the issue has been that it's, you know, it's not doing very well because recently we have had Chinese coming in and taking the prints and going to do in China, and so they're flooding the market with
Right.
these Chinese prints. They take the African concepts or designs and they go to China, and you know, they just mass produce and flood the market with it. And so we are having a tough time now competing in our own country, you know, with imported Chinese prints, which are cheaper. You see, so that's that aspect. But to the cotton thing, a number of factors. Our economic outlook was such that we didn't see the need to for the state to maintain the cotton company. We finally, what happened? They sold it to an Indian group,
Wow.
and the Indian group just ran it down and they abandoned it. So the cotton industry is dead. At first, we were exporting a lot of cotton, using some in our textile industries here, but that's not taking place right now anymore. This is a huge area that needs to be developed, and I will commend Paul Kagame, and I think Uhuru Kenyatta. I don't know about Tanzania, but there seems to be an effort in East Africa to produce clothing, whatever type of clothing, but at least they're going to do it in the country, and they're going to ban importation.
Yeah. Paul Kagame, I think he banned secondhand clothing from the U.S. from being imported to Rwanda.
Exactly. So yeah, so that's the step to bring alive the local textile industry, and I think it's a step in the right direction. There's absolutely no reason why Ghana and other countries in Africa should not be producing their own clothing, even if you say, okay, people want what they call casual wear.
Right.
You know, they want a t-shirt and a pair of jeans and so on. We can make them here. Why not?
Exactly.
But now the problem now is that the government, under the neoliberal, you know, economic system, will not do it. Their hands are tied. They are not going to do it. So it's sitting there and waiting for a private investor to come in and do it. But they're going to have to come in with some assurances that the government is going to create, the market base for the products. So it means that the importation is going to have to, be reduced, or high tariffs are going to have to be placed on importations, which I don't see happening, by the way. So you can see that there is so much potential in this one area alone, but it's just sitting there. And so what you have in Ghana and other parts of Africa right now is you have pockets of, you know, private, like individuals, locals who are doing small things. They buy fabric and they sew their own, like what you get from Senegal.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's basically what the local textile industry is right now. The smock, I wear a smock. The smocks I wear are made here by hand. They are woven here and made by hand, and so on. And so that's a good thing. And but we take, because I'll give you some prices. A smock in Ghana, a really good smock, will cost you not less than $50.
Yeah.
You see, and so if you get it for not less than, I mean, that's the lowest you'll get for a good one, but it can go as high as $100, $200, depending on the style
And the
and the
and the
quality.
quality of the fabric too.
Exactly. So you can imagine how many Ghanaians can buy, this kind of clothing. I have only one smock, because it's so expensive,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I have only one. So now this the rest of the people are going to have to buy some different kind of clothing, and that's where the second-hand goods come in, the other textiles imported come in, and so if we are going to benefit from the clothing industry, then we're going to have to go into the production of, casual clothing, and this is an area that is very lucrative. I think it has the potential to change things and give us more power economically, but needs, for now on, the policy of government. It's only the private sector that can do that, and they're going to have to do it with the government supporting in the form of the regulatory framework to ensure that the importation of the same goods do not stifle what are being produced locally.
And
So
then also
yeah.
too, not to cut you off, Africa has the most talented tailors on the planet.
Mm, mm, mm,
Very
mm.
talented.
Yeah, we have the talents here, but it's very sad when you look at it. And then, so I would like to say here and encourage people watching, especially in America, to get as many African fabrics as they can, because you're helping an African industry somewhere to survive and prosper. So I'd encourage people to get fabrics from you, because I know you're in the business of it. So I'd encourage people to contact you, people in the U.S. to contact you and get the fabrics, get the clothing. We have to be the ones to patronize our goods. If we're going to get, it's going to come later, but we are the ones who are going to have to believe in ourselves and buy our own stuff. You see, we need to get used to it, and begin to, if we can afford it, we should buy our own stuff. You see, yeah. So That's for the clothing bit. Now, the music and other art forms. This is, you started last time by talking about BET and all these other groups in the institutions in the U.S. not being owned. I was shocked that BET is not black owned.
No,
Honestly,
no, yeah. It was the owner, previous
it used to
owner,
be, right?
Bob Johnson. He
Mm-hmm.
sold it to a company called Viacom, which is owned by I think Sumner Redstone. So now it's completely, pretty much everything as far as entertainment goes is Jewish owned. Everything here in America.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's ironic, honestly. I mean, you see, people have to understand something. Without the black or African music or musicians, the industry does not survive,
Right.
and that's why I commend Mayweather. And people attack me. They say Mayweather is a wife beater and all of that. I'm not supporting him on his record or his mistakes in life, but I support Mayweather is because he owns himself and promotes his fights and promotes other fights. That's what it's about. It's a business. You don't go in with your talent and allow somebody to get rich off of you, and then you come out and you're barely surviving. Because what I understand from the US system is that the more money you make, the higher your taxes and so on, and your life, your preference, your taste for things increases, and so you spend more. And so, in order to stay rich, you're going to have to be making a lot of money. So, Floyd Mayweather, because he has understood that boxing is not just about getting in the ring. It's also about promoting your fights and making sure you are the number one beneficiary. If anybody is to benefit, it's you, the one who has the talent. Now, people need to understand that and at least respect Mayweather for that. That he owns, his himself. He runs himself and makes the money off of his own talent. That's what we want to see. I'm not supporting him because he talks big and he's always bragging about being rich. And no, I'm saying that he is an example of a talent. And unfortunately, I'm taking it from a boxing perspective rather than music. But just to make the point, he is a talent that has understood the business aspect, and we need to understand that. It's not just about being talented as a musician, even though that's the basis off of it. But in this new capitalist system, all the talents have to be turned into commodities and sold. And if the person with the talent, which is the beginning of everything, has not taken steps to benefit from all the aspects of marketing that talent, then it's a sad, I think it's the saddest thing to think about it, to have. And of course it cuts across a lot of in the African community. We have the basic input that goes to be converted or developed to a finished product. But by the time it's developed, we have a middleman, come in with a little money, and then he basically owns us. You see, and so if we're making $1,000, the person who put in the talent gets about 20,000, and then the big money goes to the promoter. And this is a tragedy. And I am ashamed of especially those of our musicians who have the funds, them, the big ones. in the US and other places, they're not taking steps to regain other, record companies and so on. They're doing that. And they're not, and so we need to rethink this. There's more money to be made on music alone, and we're not taking it serious. Other people come in to our community word or do it. We need to disperse in this era. We need to think about how we are going to connect from the basic inputs or resource, which is a talent, in this case music, to when it becomes a CD or any kind of record, and we need to understand what it takes to organize shows, events, a lot of money, and who should be promoting those shows. You see, because I think that in terms of African music, I'm looking at it in America right now. The show or the patronage, you know, somehow we're just giving our money to a third party who does not possess the talents, just because he understands the business and puts in money. You see, but I still like to talk about on the African side, what is going on. The music industry here is
And,
very
and
diverse.
let me jump in real quick. This is one thing I noticed about when
Mm-hmm.
I moved to Los Angeles in regards to African music. I noticed that
Mm-hmm.
Africans were more interested in Black American music versus their own music. So in Ghana, you have Ghanaian High
Mm-hmm.
Life, which I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely love. But
Mm-hmm.
in my honest opinion, and I could be wrong, but this
Mm-hmm.
is what I observed, Ghanaians
Mm-hmm.
were more interested in Black American music unless it was at a Ghanaian, party. But outside of that,
Mm-hmm.
they were more interested in Black American hip hop, rap, or whatnot than they were Ghanaian high life. And I absolutely love like Ebo Taylor. I love Ebo Taylor. I love
Mm-hmm.
Ghanaian high life. So
Mm-hmm.
why is that? And then go ahead and get into, and then of course you have these African
Mm-hmm.
artists who I don't know, you have like P Square, you have that Davido, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of African artists, but it seems like they shoot all their music videos in America. So I haven't researched if they're owned by
Mm-hmm.
American music labels or what, but I guess you can explain that.
Yeah. Okay, as far as Ghanaian, or let me just say African music, we used to have, before colonialism and all of that, we had our local, music, which was good. And people still love it, by the way. I have a broad spectrum of music that I listen to. I listen to all kind of music. But what's happening in Ghana is uh, just around colonial period and, toward the end of it, a new form of music in Ghana emerged called high life, right?
Right, Ghanaian high
And
life, I absolutely love it. I love it.
yeah, so, but the thing is that that music is influenced by, outside instruments. You know, so we were trying to merge, the women's with and so it created something new genre, if you may. I think that most elderly people in Ghana enjoy, that's, I would say, my father's generation, enjoy high life. But then some another form of Ghanaian music was created called hip life,
Okay.
which is related to hip hop. You see what happened? So hip life involves, more. Well, I'll just say it's the Ghanaian version of hip hop. Because it involves the use of other forms of music that are, Ghanaian. So the prevailing type of music in Ghana right now is hip life. We have some, Ghanaian dance hall and all of this. But what is happening is that, and you are right, by the way, that most young Ghanaians, they would rather listen to American hip hop than their own Ghanaian, music. Even though that's fast changing, and so people listen to, different kinds of music right now in Ghana, and I'm speaking based on my experience. I think, let me see, most of my friends growing up, most of my friends were exposed, and I think it also has to do with the exposure. Hip hop, just it has a strong penetration power. It came into Ghana big time. When TV introduced here, color TV, it was all about hip hop. Back in the day, when we were a bit, younger, Jay Z. Jay-Z was big in Ghana. He still is. All these hip hop artists. So I think that access to information and the kind of information or media that is coming to Ghana is it. I think hip hop appeals to mostly because, of course, it's black music, right? And so it appeals to Africans, but it's not only this phenomenon. It will shock go to Europe, countries like Germany. Hip hop is you see. So I mean, it's hard to explain why Ghanaians would prefer hip hop to their own Ghanaian hip life and life, but I think the younger generation just prefer hip hop because it's been made into what is cool. Young people who see it with the genre of. I would say this for a fact that in community hip hop is dominating, and so our young people are into it too, and we are creating our own versions of it in Africa here. But interesting enough, you go to Senegal, huh? And you find that the soul, you see the beginning of for instance, rap music, you go to Senegal and they have indigenous rap music that predates American rap music. It's an art form called tasu.
Okay.
TASSU.
Tasu. Okay.
And
let me write that down.
Yeah, and it's based in Senegal, and it's a local indigenous kind of music that involves rap. And so I think that there's been a back and forth sharing, I would say, in terms of music. I think that a lot of music that emerged in America in the black community had African influences. I listened to jazz, Sam Cooke, Louis Armstrong, Ray Charles, and all of these. And when they're singing the blues and all, I feel the African vibe in it, and so I come back to Africa and I see how it is that these types of music came about. Is that it's based in Africa. We have African blues too, and all of this. So I think there has been a back and forth sharing, and African expression is the same wherever you go. No matter how separated we may be, we express basically the same, kind of art forms and music and so on. But to go to, P Square and all of these artists that are, they're shooting a lot of videos, American so on. I don't think that they're owned by, Western or outside producers. P Square they have grown steadily, to the point where, now they're collaborating with people, like, what's his name?
Okay,
Rick
all right.
Ross.
Awini. So P Square, they're on Akon's label, and then they're part of Universal Music Group. Now, I don't know if let's see here. Okay, so listen. So P Square, so Convict Cartel, which is Akon's label, they're owned by Sony. So P Square, for the most part, is owned by Sony, and we know Universal's an American
Okay,
label.
yeah. What I know about these things is their beginning, how they started. They were not owned by anybody. They were just a regular Nigerian music group that are doing their thing. If somewhere along their development they have joined forces with outside influences because they think it gives them more exposure and all of that, I don't know. But I still think that the music in Africa is not getting enough development. Especially, look, you come to Ghana, there's so much music. I'm talking about the local indigenous music. It's different. It's rich. It's something else. I don't know how to explain it. It's something else. And I just think that even though we have created new genres or music, we need to bring forward the indigenous African music. Own it. For instance, we have a back and forth. Yusundu. Yusundu is one of my favorite musicians. I don't know who.
From Senegal.
Yeah, I listen to him a lot. Salif Keita, from Mali, and all of these guys, great musicians. I think that what they're doing.
In my honest opinion, I think Mali has the best music on the planet.
Yeah, Mali is great. I mean, they have guys like Salif Keita, Habib Kwete, Alifa Kator. So it's big, and I love the Kora of that very soothing music, and I think that Mali has been able to retain that indigenous music and bring it into the modern. I don't know how they did it, but their music seems to be penetrating. It seems to be living. It's supposed to be old music, but it's living in modern times and it's contesting in modern times, and people love it. So we need to be doing that, more of that. And I come to Ghana, and it's so much. Look, almost every culture in Ghana has their own, instrument. You have all the a wide variety of instruments. Man, I can't begin to even catalog the instruments. It's so rich. I mean, our diversity has been able to produce a very rich music catalog, and I think that anybody who takes it up and comes to, we have exchanges going on, comes to Africa and Ghana and tries to bring together. That's one of the projects that I I am willing to collaborate with anybody who's ready to put together a music, an indigenous music group, and have them, do performances on world stages. You know, it's so broad. I mean, look, there's different types of drums, for different kinds of things. There's different kinds of string instruments. We have the xylophone, which is, the basic. This is where the piano concept comes from, the xylophone. You know, uh, we have the kora, which is, the African guitar, so rich. We have, you go all the way to Australia, which is still African. I recognize Australia as Africa because it was African until the Europeans got there. So, you have the didgeridoo and all of these instruments. I think that we are underutilizing our musical potential, honestly speaking. I mean, there is so much that is within, even the dance, and we have, look, African poetry and all of that. We need to create uh, a taste for it. And the only way to do this is to teach our children, expose our children to African music early. You know, uh, I have a problem with some of the new kinds of music we are producing. The wording, the lessons that we are teaching in these new kinds of music is just negative, and it's promoting self-hate in the African community.
Yes.
Yeah, we can go back and take some of the, and they're still very much alive. That's the good thing is we can take so many different African art forms, music in particular, and just bring them to a world stage and run, a festival, for like a week or two, and we can make money off of it and use that to support, these musicians to develop further,
Mm-hmm.
and we can have classes for students in black schools, African schools worldwide, because when we have these classes, we do not only develop talents or discover talents for instruments, we also, introduce our music early, to our children. And so they develop a taste for it. And so it becomes a marketable thing, because who is going to want to go and watch a show that they're not really, they don't have a thing for? So we need to expose our children more to African, music worldwide. And I think the indigenous music is great. I mean, I listen to it all the time. I come from a family of drummers. That's my clan. My clan is a family of drummers.
Mm-hmm.
We are musicians by profession. That's our special role in the community, and so we have this background. You know, uh, my clan is called the Drum People. If you translate it, we are the Drum People, people of the drum. And so it's so rich, and I don't think we're doing enough, honestly, to put this on a world stage and to imbibe it in ourselves and in our children, to keep these alive, because they are our treasure. And it took our ancestors several centuries and perhaps millennia to develop these, and we don't have to let them die. We have to keep them alive. Look, cultures in the world. Look at the Chinese. The Chinese have developed their own, culture and music, and they don't joke around with their music, their indigenous music. The Indians have their own thing going. We also have our own. I think we should develop it more, and we should introduce our children to at least play one African instrument, indigenous African instrument. This will not only provide jobs for those producing the instruments, because if you come up north here and other parts of Ghana, like we have what is called a xylophone. People who produce the xylophone, they're not in business now. They just produce one or two for the clan, and that's it. But imagine if you were to create a taste for the xylophone and teach it to our children, then it means that jobs will be created based on this, and all kinds of musical instruments. So to sum it up on music, we are doing a lot already, but we need to do more, because let me tell you something. I think music is the most influential African culture that is still not lost.
Right.
We're just listening to some bad vibes in music right now. The vibrations we're getting, some of them are negative, honestly speaking. But we have the positive vibes out there, and we're not using it enough. It has the potential. Look at what the Jamaicans created. Reggae. And look at how it has come into Africa. And again, you see, that's another thing. Reggae music is also big in Africa, as you may have noticed.
Yeah.
And if Rasta is still big in Africa. So exactly, there's this back and forth sharing. But you see that the vibes that are coming out now from our young people doing dance hall and so on, it's some of the vibes is not positive, and I would dare to say a lot of it is not positive. We still have some good dance hall artists, but a lot of the vibes coming out are not positive. So we have not used our musical tool enough. It has a huge potential. We need to understand the business aspect of it. I don't think we understand what it means to turn music into a business.
Right.
We have not understood it well enough. And those of our musicians who have the money have not dared to at least establish, a record label that Africans worldwide. We have not tried to do that. So we need to take that more serious and to put it out there. I would love to coordinate, if anybody is interested, coordinate a local indigenous group, that will come to anywhere in Africa or in America to perform. And this can be used as a means of unifying our people, and also raising funds for investments. You see, so that's that. The last thing I'd like to touch on is, as an aspect of our culture, is housing.
Okay, let me ask you this, Awini. So I posted a video years ago, probably 4 years ago, of it was my second trip to Senegal, to Touba. And so a white supremacist pretty much came and left a comment to the effect of, these so-called independent Africans still using our culture. Look at these European style houses. What can we use as a blueprint? Because you have different. So you have Victorian style housing. You have what they consider French style housing. What can we use as an example, as as far as African style housing, if that makes sense? Like, what would be the model? How would the look be? Like, what's a unique style What's a unique style of African housing that we could use or see that's functional, that's
Mhm.
Go ahead.
I will refer you to an NGO called the Nubian Vault. You
Nubian
should
Vault.
check.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, I would like people to check it out. It's not owned by Africans, but you see the irony of African people. The French have taken the concept of how the Nubians used to build, and they have brought it to West Africa, and they're in Ghana and Burkina Faso and Mali and all over, and they are basically replicating the architectural or building models of Nubia, in where they are benefiting, or the idea is to make it a business, is to make it enticing enough that people would act the group to. If I were interested, I'll say, okay, Nubian Vault, I want you to build a house for me, and I want you to model it based on the Nubian Vault. The Nubian Vault style is built without iron rods, without concrete, without zinc or any kind of roof. You see? So, what are we doing to ourselves as Africans? We have thrown away our indigenous building styles and raised uh, European architecture that is not necessarily adaptable to our climate. The other day I spoke about this. I told you I don't like cement buildings
Right.
because they are too hot for this climate. They are too hot. People build using cement and they can't sleep in the building in the hot season, especially when you have outage or something. You can't sleep in it. So, to answer your question, what can we use as a blueprint? We have so many blueprints. We have the African, as you've seen, what you people refer to as the mud houses. Uh, we have that. I think that's not been developed enough. You go to Mali, and you have been there.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Mali style of building that also does not involve the use of roofing sheets. They build it with, they incorporate a decked roof where they use the top to dry their grains and dry, things that they need to dry to keep so it's safe from animals eating it and so on. I have studied the Dogon design in the French anthropologist book, Marcel.
Mm-hmm.
There's a there's a plan. People don't understand. I'll take the Dogon for instance. They have a plan for everything they build. Everything is built based off on a plan. It's even based on uh, metaphysical concepts. People don't understand that a building, a dwelling place, must be built based on metaphysical concepts, based on religious concepts, if you based on celestial concepts. And so it didn't shock people to realize that the pyramids in Egypt, they align with what the three stars in Orion's belt. You
Right.
see, and all of that. So in general, just sitting here, I can talk about the Nubian print, the Nubian style of building, which is basically from Ethiopia stretching to Egypt and coming into Sudan and all of that. I can also talk about the Mali area style of building, which is also based on African designs and African spiritual concepts, because the house is a spiritual, the dwelling place. People don't understand this. God, or the supreme being, has a plan, a grand plan for everything.
Mm.
And so when we build, it must be based, thing goes as above, so below. And that's why I'm interested in the building, is we must build based on these spiritual concepts. We don't just get up and build an issue. Learn what it means to have a house. A house is not, it's not just a simple place we must joke with. It's a spiritual. It houses not only the physical, it houses the spiritual too. And so we need to understand this. And our people understood this. It might surprise people why West Africans build in the round huts. They build round mud houses. They build in a circle. Rather than other styles. We need to understand the spiritual underpinnings of building. And once we understand this, we would understand that our people understood our ancestors of building than we do right now. Right now, we are just copying and making other people rich. Doing that. And they turn around and insult us. And they tell us we don't have buildings. That's not true. That's so insulting. And we need to go back to, and this is one of my areas of interest, is building. We need to understand the concepts, and once we do that, we will be able to create new concepts and bring them into building. We have used different materials. Our ancestors have used different materials to build. We just don't see them because our people today have become copycats. We are the laughing stock of the world because we are copycats.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be anything African.
But us, exactly.
We don't want, yeah, and we need to get out of that line of thinking fast, because I don't see why we have clay here, and we go and spend so much to buy cement. Clay is a binder. Why are we not using it enough? Why are we not, people say and so on, why are we not developing it enough? We need to stop that. And so whoever, whether it's a white supremacist or whoever says such a thing, obviously does not have the information on what Africans were doing before they even started to build.
Right.
And I'm making a bold statement, and they have no right to say that we don't have. We do. Right now is our people are not interested in our own, and they don't want to take it. We have all these architects, and I ask the question: these architects, have you studied the Egyptian architecture? No. The people go to school and they study everybody's architecture but their own.
Right. You're right.
We have such a rich, complex architectural heritage. Why are we not studying it? If it's not taught in school, it's up to us to go out and learn it, and to even bring it into the mainstream. That's why we have research. We have the research component of every study that I know, so we can go out and explore African architecture, and we can bring it to the fore, and see how it can apply to Africa today. We're not doing that. We're just copying. And you see, all of this is economics. People want us to buy their stuff and build using their stuff, and we have bought into it. And it's really sad, but we need to stop that. I looked into Yoruba sisters. They had clay tiles years, centuries ago. They were tiling. You look at what do you call it? The old Benin Kingdom, and they were building years ago. Masra city. and all of these things. We need to go back and look at what our ancestors were doing and what informed their building. And we need to take that and try to see how, if we can adapt, fine. But I am personally interested in not even the, see, the architecture or the blueprint must be based on a spiritual concept. I maintain this. And if we do that, you see that people will be amazed by the style or the blueprint, but it's just an expression of the spirit. And in studying the Dogon, I found this to be very, very true. You don't build based off of nothing. There's nothing in the world, or the creator doesn't do things like that to replicate the creator. So when we build, have a spiritual concept based on our own understanding of the universe, and we will be better off, and we will build an economy based on this. And we need to sit up and stop copying other people. It's very shameful that we have so much. We're so rich in architecture, and our ancestors were the first builders, for God's sakes. Everywhere you went, we built. We go to Cambodia, we are the ones who built that, the Angkor Wat. We built that. We built pyramids. We built the Egyptian pyramids, and we went further to build great buildings, of different kinds, dwelling places, temples, what have you. So why is it that we have accepted this inferior position, and we are copying people who just came on the scene recently? What is happening? I think that the African architectural mind is still very much vibrant in terms of its ability to create, because we're very creative people. We're just not using our creativity in the right direction. You see? So we need to sit up and stop copying people. I personally, I don't want to build using any cement and all of that, and I want to use an African concept, a design to build.
Somebody in the chat room, Traveling Man, he's a trained and educated architect. He said there's no attention paid to African architecture in relation to contemporary design. I mean, that's an opportunity right there to incorporate African architecture into, I mean, just imagine building a subdivision and all the homes are African inspired. I mean, there's a market for that.
Exactly. Why are we not doing this? And you see, I don't blame the educational system, because it's not ours. You don't expect the Chinese to ask the Europeans why they don't incorporate Chinese architecture in European architectural schools, right?
Right.
The Chinese create their own. They just come and learn the concepts, and then they go home and adapt it to their culture. That's what they do, because it's already there. So what we need to do is to learn the concepts and then adapt it to the African version. So we need to create a market off of this, and we need to make our people understand that we had it. You see, we always had all these monstrous, complex buildings all over Africa and other places in the world that we have been. And we were great builders. We are the greatest builders that ever walked the face of the planet.
True.
Why are we copying people today as if we can't put one brick on top of another without somebody's help? So I'm all for that. Traveler, you need to learn, get as many concepts as possible. Then when you come, you explore Africa, you will begin to relate to how the concepts relate to the African architectural system, and it'll be amazing what we can create.
Absolutely. I cannot wait. In fact, I'll be back in Africa in November. Can't wait.
Okay, okay, yeah, that'll be good.
Cannot
That'll
wait.
be good.
Absolutely.
Huh.
You guys, but everybody in the chat room, thank you for joining us. It's late Friday night. It's 9:30 out here where our Winnie is. What is it, Winnie? Like 2 o'clock in the morning? 2:30?
It's 1:30,
1:30.
1:32.
Okay. Yeah. So guys, thank you for coming on because there's so many other options out there as far as what to do on a Friday night. But you guys took your time out. Just join me and Awini on our live stream. So I really appreciate it. Awini, is there anything you want to close on? I'm gonna let you go ahead and have it.
Okay. Yeah. So generally speaking, just to wrap it up, the whole cultural thing, I think that our culture has not been handicapped at all in giving us uh, basic solutions to basic problems, for giving us complex solutions to complex problems as we moved along in our development. What we are doing to ourselves right now is we are turning ourselves into newborn babies culturally. We are committing cultural suicide when we turn our backs on rich culture, rich aspects of our culture that hold potential to free us from this economic bondage we are in right now.
Mm-hmm.
We are turning ourselves into schizophrenics, cultural schizophrenia,
Mm-hmm.
as because we are, by turning our backs on our own, our contributions culturally will die out, and the world will re-enslave us. I'm going to be bold enough to say this, and Professor Clark was right that there is an attempt to discredit or downplay the role of African people in world history and to remove us from what he calls the respectful commentary of history. And our cultural history is the only thing that we can use to liberate ourselves and reassert ourselves in world affairs. Because if we do not cling on to that, people are going to turn around and say, "Look at you! What did your ancestors do? What did they contribute? They were just useless people." That's what people are telling us now. And those of our brothers and sisters who do not know what their ancestors did, they believe this. They grow up believing that our ancestors did nothing and contributed nothing culturally. A culture is the highest form of intelligence or the use of human intelligence in an organized form to solve societal problems. And so everything that we use or that will benefit us, our culture must provide. Our culture provides the educational system. Our culture provides our architecture, our all forms of technology, our music, clothing, cosmetics, what have you. It comes, emerges out of the culture. So what we are doing to ourselves right now, we are not creating, or pushing on or adding on to our culture. We are just copycatting. We are just following other people in the world. Today, the African wants to be Chinese, he wants to be Indian, he wants to be European. He doesn't want to be African. Why? Because he feels that his culture has nothing to offer.
Mm.
in modern terms, which is a fallacy. And we follow other people's culture. We follow people who came on the scene just recently,
right,
and who don't really have anything that's spectacular, by the way. And we are forgetting that the only way we can build is to go back to our culture and take that as the roots. Because you see, our culture is a product of how our ancestors used to think, the brains of our ancestors. Now, if anything is going to be compatible with our thought process, is going to be that of our ancestors, not the thought processes of other people, because they have their own culture. So we need to go back and relook at that and see how we can find solutions to new problems that are emerging today. Be it cosmetics, we have enough oils and, and things that we can use for our skin and all of that that we are not exploring. We have enough food, such great variety that we are not exploring. We have a broad range of clothing that is just not getting the marketing that it desires. Our music is for sale. People are using our talents and getting rich off of us. And so we need to go back and relook at what we can take from our culture and use that as an economic weapon, because that's what it is. Because if you buy it and I buy it, then we build an economy. So that's where I'd like to leave it for now.
okay. Awini, thank you for coming on. Please share with everybody your contact information. I'll also put it in the chat and also in the video description. But go ahead and share with everybody your contact information.
Yeah, reach me on Facebook on Awini Baba. Awini, one word, Awini, one word, and then Baba, Baba, another word. Reach me on Facebook, and then you can contact me on phone on +233 249 831 251. That's +233 249 831 251.
Absolutely. Also, too, everybody, we're going to be kicking off Awini's GoFundMe. I'm going to get that set up Sunday. Awini wants to come to a university, New York University, to be specific, here in America. So we want to get him over here. We want to help the brother out. He's very bright. So the GoFundMe is going to start this Sunday. And Awini, thank you for coming back on. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man. You're definitely wise. And we appreciate the information that you share with us and the jewels that you drop. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And thank everybody for coming on and being part of this. And we hope to get into more issues as we move along. Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys, make sure you're following me on Instagram. Handle is search for Uhuru, just like my YouTube. Search for Uhuru. Make sure you guys are liking and following me on Instagram, liking the pics. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed. New people who have came on this page for the first time, make sure you subscribe to the page as well, and make sure you share the videos. Also, search for Uhuru on Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, go to searchforhuru.com, go to dynastymirror.com, and please go to amazon.com and search your name, Dynasty Mirror. My books will come up, so please support and buy a book. Dynasty Mirror, search for Uhuru, the Kafitan Don. Till next time, peace.